Michael, welcome to the program.
Great to be with you, Ellen.
Well, your modelling, as we just said, shows the ski season shrinking by up to 80 days. Now, that's a worst case scenario. What's a best case scenario?
Well, what happens through this century depends on what trajectory human emissions take. So if we restrict our human emissions, global warming is reduced, then we have a better case. If we have ongoing high emissions, then we have a worse case. So under a low emission scenario, by 2050, we'll still see some warming and we'll still see, on average, a lower ski season. But under a high emission scenario, then we're looking at that worst case scenario.
So given all these uncertainties and that we're talking around 33 years from now, how do you come up with these predictions?
Sure. Obviously there's variability from year to year. There's a good year and a bad year. But the trend over the last few decades has been very clear, and we've known that for quite a while, that there's a trend towards reduced snow depths. Then we look at the latest modelling, the latest science, the understanding of what drives the climate, and we can look at what happens under a scenario going forward. And so looking at a high emission scenario or a low emission scenario, we can model what that means for the snow depths, the snow area and the snow season, and take an informed estimate of what that would mean going forward.
And if you look back, I mean, if you look at recent, if I can say recent CSIRO reports, I mean, you did one in 2013 which said the ski season could be cut short by up to 2 months. That was 2013 was an update, I think, of a 2003 report. So this is a consistent trend. Is it in that sort of 16 years that you've been looking at it, or 17 years, has it been the same trajectory, or has it been getting worse or better?
Well, it's not just CSIRO's research. CSIRO and the Bureau of Meteorology put out a joint climate statement in 2015, which the climate change in Australia work, which you can read an assessment there. But there's also been other work done here in Hobart by the ACE CRC. It's released a recent report. The university has done work, and it really does build a consistent picture. And we've known about the reducing trend in snow depths in the ski seasons for quite a while. And the view about what's happening in future is also fairly consistent and has been consistent for quite a while, because snow depths. Yeah, sorry.
I was just going to say, there's big implications, isn't there? I mean, it's not just, I guess, for development, but it's also for wildlife as well.
That's right. So a reduction in snow has big impacts to human activity and our holidays, but also has a big impact on the natural environment, the plants and animals and ecosystems in the highland areas, because they can't move to higher ground to be in the same conditions they were before, because they're already on top of the mountains.
So does it make sense to you, I know you're a scientist, but does it make sense to you when you look at commercial developers wanting to build a new 800-bed resort at Perisher? I guess it depends on your timeline, but do you think the risk is that great?
Well, I think people need to make decisions based on the best information, and I think they need to consider the latest research on snow trends and also snow projections when they're making their decisions. They've got other factors to consider, and they can do some actions like snowmaking and diversifying their interests into things like mountain biking and bushwalking, etc. But even with snowmaking, there's going to be a reduced capacity to be able to make snow even in future, because you do need low temperatures still to make snow. So yeah, I wouldn't want to make the decision, but I think they need to base it on the best information that's available.
Michael, are you an optimist? Do you think that we could get the best case scenario or even better than that?
Always room for optimism, I feel, and things like the Paris Agreement have put it on the agenda and have set an ambitious target. And if we can meet those targets, then that will certainly put us on a better trajectory than if we had a high emission scenario going through to 2100.
Well, for all those skiers out there, I mean, if we get the worst case scenario, we don't really have a ski season at all, do we? So let's keep our fingers crossed that we're not looking at such a dire prediction. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.